Please. This has been declared a riot. All persons must immediately leave the area to the north or to the west. Failure to adhere to this order may subject you to arrest, citation.
So essentially what just happened was, so within less than half an hour, the police had declared this event a riot, even though it was a pretty small gathering and no aggressive moves have been made as far as I've been able to tell by the protesters. Like no one was trying to break in or anything like that. So they declared it a riot. They pushed people back pretty far north into Kenton. Protesters had just begun regrouping on the sidewalks, I might add, in front of the PPA, which lasted for about 5 minutes before a riot cop van pulled around and just bull rushed everyone that was standing in front of the building, chasing a bunch of people, tackled a photojournalist, arrested him.
Where was that?
That was right around the corner. They chased him all the way from this street all the way around the corner over there.
Just like 5 minutes.
Yeah, just when that first van pulled up. I got his name on film, but I don't remember who he was working with.
Did you get it on film though?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Good.
And now I'm just left wondering how long it's going to take them to get that speaker off of the top of Heavenly Donuts.
Is that where it's bound to?
It was giving off protester announcements. It was like, this is the people of Portland. This is not a riot. I'm not sure. They kind of seem to be making rules up as they go along now, just to facilitate cracking down on the protests. So what they're doing now is they're declaring it a riot as soon as possible, and that gives them the power to do closures of streets and potentially parks and things like that. Standing there with a wall of press. Looks like they're letting traffic through on the westbound side. Looks like somebody went on a rafting trip. That's nice.
Transgender people, at transgender issues, at black people, at houseless issues. They have no compassion for their community. And they laugh when you try to confront them with the issues that they cause. Yeah, I think that's right, Simone, like a callous disregard. But yeah, they're not naive to what's happening. They're just ignorant. Oh no.
They're just darkness, even though they took everything out on the last night that you guys were here.
Oh, here we have the esteemed DJ Elrad on the other side of this pickup truck.
Oh, okay.
That's not the main one. The main one's on top of a cruiser.
That's not the headliner?
What are you stating?
That is not the headliner.
No, that's just the opening act.
Yes, exactly.
Elrad, baby.
Y'all just gonna stay here and wait it out? We're gonna wait it out. Unless you're gonna fucking bullet innocent people again. Y'all threatened the gas and then went ahead and bulleted people. That's kind of fucked up.
All right, well, I'm gonna go for a street cross and see what we can't see on the other side.
The hell? I'm trying to talk to y'all like some normal people. Y'all are like we're normal people. They're not. Hi. Look at me. Am I breaking the law standing on the sidewalk? Answer that. I'm not trying to get you up. Like, for real. Like, y'all aren't answering this shit, but then y'all are like, move this way. Go this way. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Y'all aren't even telling me.
Or they love to give you conflicting orders.
Exactly. Like, go this way. Get on the sidewalk. We're gonna be on the sidewalk. Get out.
Move to the north. Move to the north. Yeah, that's a hot drop right there. Looks like this dumpster has been used as a flaming barricade. In the past, oh yeah.
Reinforce it again and again and again. But the same policies, practices, and ideologies that shaped Oregon, shaped every state in the nation, and shaped the nation as a whole, because it's incredibly important to remember.
Bangsy, what up, dude?
As a racist white utopia, right? So the concept of manifest
What up,
destiny, which
kid?
is the founding principle of America, is the idea that God gave this land to white folks to make it productive, because indigenous people
I had a bunch of arrests on that bull rush right there, where there was like a group of maybe 50 protesters against the building. And riot van came in hot coming around the corner. Protesters didn't get out of there in time. Riot cops jumped off of the side of the riot vans, tackled a bunch of people, took down at least one member of the press that was taking a photograph.
No. He has made us the master organizers of the world to establish systems where chaos reigns. He has made us a
Protesters were just standing on the sidewalk, but because the police, I would say illegally declared it a riot prematurely when there was no rioting happening. I was told that one firework got set off, which was the justification for declaring it a riot. So it's going to take some interesting legal analysis to figure out exactly when and how they are allowed to declare a riot versus unlawful assembly. But it's pretty clear to me that they are declaring it a riot immediately now to be able to close areas, and especially to be able to close areas off to legal observers and the press. Because there's, I believe, a clause that if it's a riot, then they are allowed to close areas to everybody, including the press.
And they're allowed to use tear gas.
And they are also allowed to use tear gas based on the injunction that was passed. Yeah, totally.
The reality is that Oregon is founded in this.
Did they use any tear gas tonight?
They
did? Yeah.
It's the first time I've seen them drop it in a while.
Right on. Yeah.
The very conception
Yeah, they're not messing around with the PPA with or any buildings now that they've had numerous arson attempts in the past few days.
Right? So this notion of Portland that has been, epitomized by Portlandia, we all know, right? Which in essence is basically a white metal playground, right? That's what we're doing. That is predicated on this history of Oregon being a white homeland. Because the excess resources that were used to create this sort of liberal landscape, everything from
Yeah, they brutally, I mean, it wasn't the most brutal arrest, but it was definitely a very heavy-handed and violent arrest of an ACLU observer last night. It was a woman. I watched the footage. It was definitely unnecessarily rough, especially for someone who is acting in the capacity as a legal observer. It's pretty disgusting. They like rip her up off the ground from her stomach by her arms that are handcuffed, and like all of the weight of her body is pushed onto her shoulders. And they were verbally abusive the entire time as well.
Containment, exploitation, and exclusion of people of color. And we actually see, looking at current statistics,
Their vehicles,
the
so
more
the press
things
couldn't
change, the
report
more
it.
they
Oh, right. Yeah, totally. That's why I've got my flashlight. Oh, and in that video, yeah, they were like, stop blinding us with that light. And was trying to film it, yeah.
cannot afford to live in Portland, right?
They're like, turn off that light, turn off that light.
Really trying to manage our ability to see them.
Yeah, which is very disturbing. That should concern any freedom-loving citizen.
The supremacy is manufacturing itself, and the means
Yeah.
may be different than explicitly saying you cannot come here. But if the ends are the same, right, that at the end of the day, Portland becomes a white-only city, then we have to ask, has anything really changed? And also, we have to
Yo,
ask,
Banks, I found that farmhouse out by Hood River, kid.
really, if this can continue,
Just
and
found it the other day. Hit me up.
are fine with that existing in perpetuity.
Some press members moving into the street a little bit. A bold move, considering the PPB are not messing around.
Everything is terrible. Enjoy the rest of the event. Right? I really want to leave us with the agency and leadership.
So we've got at least 2 arrests over here, 3 arrests over here, maybe 4. There might be a 4th on the back of the van. I don't know if this includes, yeah, there's that member of the press sitting against the van right there. He's a photojournalist that got tackled. He took a picture. Police yelled at him. He was like, all right, I'm leaving, and started running out of there, but then police started chasing him. Chased him all the way around the corner, tackled him around the corner, smashed him into the ground. Got it all on camera.
They have been active change makers. And in light of that, people of color do not need white folks to come in and save them, right, with sort of a liberal gospel. What we need are folks who will take the vision and leadership of those folks of color, right? So people of color don't need saviors, they need allies. And what we see is that when the leadership of people of color is centered and when allies follow the lead of people of color, folks of color actually create communities and community institutions that make all of our lives better. And I want to just explore 2 examples really quickly. And so the first happened in 1867 when the city of Salem refused to allow black children to go to school. The schools were segregated. Black children were not allowed to go. There was not a school for them. So the black community engaged in a 2-prong approach in Salem. First, they raised $427.50. That was a lot of money in 1867, y'all, to open a school to educate their children. They also engaged in a lawsuit to force the city of Salem to take over the economic responsibilities of that school, and they were successful. So because of the organizing of this marginalized and oppressed community in 1867, public education was more accessible for everyone.
We've got the protesters, LRAD, dropping some historical knowledge behind us.
The Black Panther Party. There's a lot to say about the Panthers.
They've set up the speaker on top, on the rooftop of Heavenly Donuts behind us.
The Panthers are a national organization with over 40 chapters across the nation. The program that every chapter was mandated to have was a survival program called the Free Breakfast for Children program. So the Panthers fed tens of thousands of children of all races across this country every day. And in fact, in 1969, the California treasurer said that the Black Panther Party fed more children than the United States government. That's actually why we have free and reduced lunch programs, because the government was basically shamed by the Panthers and had to begin that program soon after. The other program that many of the chapters had were healthcare clinics. In Portland, we had a free breakfast program, and we actually had 2 healthcare clinics. The first was a general healthcare clinic, and the second was
Can I
a
get
dental
your sign
clinic.
on the stream?
These clinics were open to everyone, free of charge. The only questions you were asked when you came in were, what's wrong with you, and how can we help make you better? So when the Panthers actually, Oregon Health Sciences University took over their dental clinic, and it's actually still running today in Northeast Portland. So because of the Black Panthers organizing,
Yeah, Chris, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. I didn't want to like flood it, like if you were streaming on there as well. Ground Level News had some interesting hiccups this past week with a former contributor who kind of went rogue on us. Kind of messed up the Facebook page for us for a little while, but it is back. But we get a lot of views on Ground Level News as well. But I've been going on my personal page, although my viewers are going up pretty fast all of a sudden, so I must be getting restreamed somewhere.
In my mind, it's very similar to thinking about like community-controlled military. Like, who are we actually going to be sending folks to be bombing? Or who are we actually going to say, you need more tanks in this place? Because the institution of policing as a whole is meant to be, is functioning as, and will forever function as, a tool of control, a tool of repression, a tool of like criminalization and dehumanization, and upholding the power of people who are profiting.
And the paddy wagon has arrived. I guess we'll make a distinction between riot vans and paddy wagons these days.
And policing is not ever,
Is this a boogaloo? Is this a boogaloo press boy?
Poor people, undocumented folks.
Is that what that is?
Queer, gender non-conforming, and trans people. It's meant to be a tool to maintain the status quo and keep people in line, and if you can't be kept in line...
Or is he just a guy who happened to be wearing a Hawaiian shirt? I just don't know.
Shut up! Reform the thing because it is not actually broken. This is a tool meant to control and repress and restrict the movement of people. And so number one, I'm like, I don't actually know what community control of policing looks like in a concrete way. And it, to me, I'm like, so, okay, let's say maybe a cop murders someone and then they get fired and they go through the court system, but that's not actually keeping more folks from being murdered. We're still saying we think it's important to pay people.
Hey, Linda. So
bail our folks.
What happened was a Sunday night protest gathering occurred at Kenton Park. I didn't get there in time to see how many people, but it looked like a decent crowd, but probably not as big as Friday or Saturday nights. They marched to the PPA building, the police union hall here. That's that building right there. And within 20 minutes, it was declared an unlawful assembly and then a riot almost immediately. Oh, Guam. I used to live in Guam when I was a child. When I was 5 and 6 years old, my mother taught in the school system there. And my father worked at one of the hotel, one of the luxury hotel bakeries. But so they declared a riot almost instantly and then pushed protesters back to Kenton, several blocks north of here. It seemed like it wasn't a very long push. They kind of just pushed everybody out and then retreated right away. Protesters slowly trickled back towards the PPA building. There was a crowd of maybe like 50 protesters standing on the sidewalk, like on the other side of those cop cars that we see right now. And the Portland, the LRAD, the long-range acoustic device, went off saying this is still a riot and you are ordered to disperse. And then within moments, a police van lined with riot cops came whipping around the corner and jumped off, and they all charged into the crowd of about 50 protesters that weren't doing anything. They were all just kind of milling about. Tackled a bunch of people, roughed up a bunch of people, chased a member of the press around the corner and tackled him and arrested him, a photojournalist.
Policing as something that's actually going to keep us safe one day. And we have had thousands upon millions of examples of how policing has endangered the lives of our folks, however we're defining our folks.
Are you live streaming?
I want to
Oh, gotcha.
And I think And I think like if we're actually trying to talk about what's going to be and the thing that is putting us in danger, the thing that's dividing us, the thing that tries to isolate us from each other, a big part of that is policing.
No peace! I didn't think about that.
No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace!
I believe that was their default line to go into arrest, which is what we've been seeing the past few nights.
No peace! Let them fucking
I guess somebody had launched a firework, and that was their justification for declaring it a riot.
Look at this shit! Wait your fucking gun!
They usually are, yeah.
No one loves you, bro! Let them fucking go! Let them go!
See, I'm not sure how many just got arrested. At least 5, possibly more. Again, it's one of those things where it was just a crowd of 50 people milling about and nobody was actually doing anything illegal as far as I could tell. So anybody that they did arrest, they literally just like randomly picked. It's like winning the shitty lottery. Yeah. Although 5 out of 50 arrested, that's 10% odds, so it's better than most lotteries I play.
Let them go! You deserve to be stuck in that cell, pig!
Can you tell what kind of gun he's holding?
I'm not so good with the ammunition and the munitions and things myself.
I think it might be a tear gas gun.
I think it's one of. I've been told that those like bigger barrel ones can hold like a variety of things, like the big foam rubber batons and tear gas canisters.
The foam bullets.
Yeah, the big foam bullets. Yeah,
That's what they got shot with in LA.
yeah, those things are gnarly. I got hit with one of those in the gut. And I had like a massive rose bruise for like 6 weeks.
I didn't get hit, but I picked up a few of them, and I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah, right,
It's really heavy.
for sure. Those are nasty, and then the rubber batons that spin like this are like gnarly. I haven't seen one either, but that's what I've been told.
Nunchucks.
Yeah, right. Coming at you at high speed. All right, let's go see if this guy's with the boogs.
You white bitch!
Excuse me. I've got people on the stream asking if you're affiliated with the Boogaloo Boys because of the Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we're actually trying to work and change this narrative. The same sort of bullshit that, like, obviously, government fucking arresting people for what? They showed up, and one of them's fucking press. But yeah,
that photojournalist got tackled hard.
We're trying to change the narrative. They pushed us out of fucking Facebook, all that sort of shit, so that we don't have a voice to, counter the accusations,
Right.
We're here for, the fucking protest for Black Lives Matter to counter this shit.
For pussies?
Right on. Do you want to make any comments on, because, the general perception, I think, of the Boogaloo Boys is of being a far right sort of extremist movement, kind of pushing the race war forward.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but from Boogaloo Boys that I've talked to on the ground, like yourself, it doesn't seem like that's the narrative that you're trying to get across.
No. Well, the thing is, and it comes down to having Antifa, and so according to the government, Antifa has that left-wing vibe to it, so they needed the right-wing counter to it. If there was any political idealization or whatever for the Boog, it would possibly be libertarian, is the closest that I could say.
Sure.
But basically, it comes down to, we believe you do what you do, I'm gonna do what I do, and that's it, boo. As long as you don't push that on anyone else, like, that's fine. That's completely fine.
Okay, right on.
As far as, there has been people who have been associated with the movement who have done horrific acts. There's been people that have been associated to literally every movement that have done horrible things.
Right, like the federal officer that got murdered in Oakland, right? That
Yes,
was
very
someone
specifically.
claiming to be part of the Boogaloo movement.
The thing is, and I've I've looked around on it to try to find information on it, something we're actively,
You would not have to call it
check in on,
lawful
but
action
we haven't
if
seen
it was
anyone vouch for him
lawful.
specifically. And then as well, there's possible the two in Las Vegas about they may have been, but again, they push us out of Facebook. They push us out of a way where we can moderate and maintain, I don't know how to say it, our ranks, whatever.
Sure.
And then anyone can show up.
But then anyone can claim, affiliation with. So I've seen books that are that show up in full tactical gear, but more like on the East Coast. But I also see the Hawaiian shirt thing. Is there any significance to the Hawaiian shirt particularly?
So the Hawaiian shirt particularly, it's more. If we had to get down to the roots of it, it was actually because of Duncan Lem. He was known to always wear them. You know the story of Duncan Lem?
No, I don't know that name.
Okay, so it was March or May. It was one of the M's, and people are going to hate me for not knowing exactly what it is. But basically, he was served a red flag warrant for a juvenile record. He was 20-something years old, but for some reason, they were able to serve him a red flag warrant for his juvenile record. Police footage had not been released to this day, and in serving the warrant, witness testimony is actually directly against what the police are claiming happened. They served the warrant.
As will often do.
Often, right? No-knock warrant. And they said that he reached for a gun, but crime scene data shows that shots came in from outside the house. They shot him in his sleep when he was sleeping next to his pregnant fiance. At 4 a.m. in the morning on a no-knock warrant. So.
Jeez. That's wild.
But I believe he was the original with this. He was actually associated with a different group, but his big thing was he was trying to make a safe place, an alternative media platform where all ideas could be expressed without, this censorship not watchdog, but where if someone didn't like your view, they could, just get rid of it. And the common conspiracy theory idea is that that's why he was murdered.
Sure. Cool. Thank you so much for chatting.
No, totally, definitely. And by the way, if I could say anything to anyone doing the live streams, that sort of stuff, if you see anyone in a shirt, question them, ask them, ask them what's going on with it, ask them what they're doing, why they're here.
Your mom says
like I said.
Could I ask you one last, probably fairly tough question? Would you be willing to outright deny the desire to instigate race wars in this country moving forward?
I mean, right now, I'm at a Black Lives Matter protest.
Right.
I'm protesting police activity. They're telling us to get out of the road. I don't know how to say this in a way that makes it enough. If we're at our core belief that freedom is for everyone, we can't exist with racists in that world. And freedom for everyone is our core ideology. Pushing us into the darkness only allowed people who cling into the darkness to associate themselves with our movement. We are actively taking steps right now to legitimize our movement and our organization and out those people. Racism is not cash money, you'll get yeeted.
Cool. Right on. Thanks so much, Ben.
Black Lives Matter.
Cheers. All right, stay safe out here. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, well, that was interesting. That's the first time I've given an interview like that, so I wasn't prepared for it. But interesting to note that he did not outright deny the fact that they might be interested in instigating a race war, despite the fact that they are out here for Black Lives Matter right now. But that's kind of the view that I've heard from the other Boogaloo boys that have been down here in their Hawaiian shirts, is that they're here to support Black Lives Matter. But I've also heard some pretty harsh criticism from outsiders of the movement, saying that Boogaloo boys are willing to say whatever suits their political end. So take what that guy just said with a huge grain of salt. Definitely not unreasonable. I've kind of flirted with libertarianism myself until I realized that it's kind of filled with those old world mentalities of racism and homophobia for a lot of people. But the general concept of absolute liberty for people is very enticing. And I kind of support that. I kind of started calling myself a progressive libertarian for a while, even though that doesn't really make any sense at all. I don't know what the hell I am anymore. Yeah, it did sound a little bit like they're trying to rebrand without outright denying their past, and like it's a pretty easy question to say, oh no, we don't support instigating a race war. But he was also streaming, so he had to be careful with what he was saying for his followers, I'm sure. So that's why it was an interesting moment to kind of catch him in that question. I think somebody just threw a glass bottle, if I'm not mistaken. It sounded like it shattered. Just interviewed a boomer boy screaming. It's super interesting. I was like, so...
Screaming where?
He's right over here. He's wearing the Telltale Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, last question. This one's tough because he's streaming with all his followers, right? I was like, can you outright deny that your organization is interested in instigating a race war? And he was totally dodged the question and like danced around. And I was like, all right, well, take that as a no.
Life would be affordable without mortgages or rent,
Oh, yeah,
because the evictions won't
Stay
go
close
well.
to the car.
If the
It's
folks
so
of the
concerned
landlord
about
sent
it.
you don't have the power to arrest
Yeah, no, I saw
you
that
or
too.
pitch you
But
on
you
the
get,
street.
if that's the worst you're getting right now, then that's a blessing.
Might just admit defeat if they defunded the police who'd make us sick.
Yeah,
By drenching us with tear gas or hitting us with sticks, who'd lash out at old men and leave them there to bleed, who would strangle people until they cannot breathe, who would shoot us in the parking lots, hands up in the air, who'd make the rich feel safe and make the rest of us feel scared if they defunded the police who'd keep us out. Who'd be there to guard the Congress and turn on the spout? Who'd be there to man the cannons to keep us from being heard when we clamor at the gates to shred the sacred words of the overseers of America who have for so long run this land? Let's just imagine for a moment, what if they accepted our demands, if they defunded the police?
Yeah, I'll trim that down and edit it and get that pulled up on our ground level news page, our Facebook page, and our Twitter later. I'll admit that I have a pretty bad habit of like being way too kind to people. Like in my head, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm talking to this guy right now. These guys are crazy. But he was like super reasonable and really nice. So I'm like, oh, this is a nice guy. But yeah, I don't know what to believe about the Boogs. I definitely don't trust it, that's for sure. And I think that his refusal to outright deny an instigation of a race war is pretty telling. Thanks. I mean, kindness does get people to talk, that's for sure. So we still got DJ Baby Elrad. Little Elrad X over here. Looks like they've got an unassuming undercover Dodge Ram 2500. Couldn't tell by that wheel well in the back that has like armor. But that's a really unassuming undercover vehicle. Looks like they've got a fire extinguisher mounted on the front. That's a cool accessory. So, here's all the people that are over here. It's really not that many people. There could be a bunch of people back in Kenton, several blocks to the north. Oh, nice. So, and I'm not certain, but I think this is a combined effort between the Oregon State Police and Portland Police Bureau. Man, it took them a long time to process those 5 arrests. There are a bunch a few blocks away. That's kind of what I figured. All right, thanks, Gene. Yeah, it's true. Trying to kind of teach myself as I go along here. And that's definitely how I would prefer to approach the interview. We do have some protesters on the other side of the street. Several cruisers are lined up right here on this corner.
Listen to me act, all your doctors and your lawyers and your folks who push the crack, all the folks who push the buttons and the folks who push the mobs, come and listen while
I've heard that there's another bigger group several blocks away. There goes that right there. PPB and protesters exchanging words as they leave. Whoever operates that protester LRAD is a fucking genius.
Is this like a Teletubby song?
Something like that. Little LRAD X.
Oh man,
DJ Little LRAD X over there.
Ooh, NSYNC! Yes, it's my jam!
Protesters exchanging words. Lots of middle fingers going up. Celebratory atmosphere here with the departure of the PPB and Oregon State Police. Protesters immediately begin going back into the streets, like immediately. And on that note, that was pretty good. Everyone just breaks out into dance. Right. All right, I'm going to sign off for now. I'll go back to live tweeting on our ground level news Twitter page, which you can find at Level SLC. We're also being restreamed on Gaia, which is Grassroots Activists International Association. And yeah, keep it locked, folks. Stay safe out there. Take care.